Today we're going to be talking about Lost in Space and Altered Carbon, so stay tuned. Welcome to The Real Review, sponsored by Parametric and Lazy Ape Studios, where you get some of the latest happenings, real thoughts, and perspectives in the world of film and television. Today we're doing something a little bit different than our standard. We usually, every week, release one of our film review episodes, but neither of us really got a chance to check out any films. There's not really anything I wanted to see.
It's kind of the calm before the storm.
It is. You could definitely say that.
Yeah.
I know Super Troopers 2 came out this weekend. There's a couple other ones that have just like, had the, what's the
I Feel Pretty.
Blumhouse film that came out?
Oh, that was a couple weeks ago. It's
was
Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
and that looked really silly to me.
Yes, the smiley faces.
Yeah, they're doing like, what was that? I Feel Pretty or Pretty Woman or something like that.
I Feel Pretty.
Like I Feel Pretty. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah,
and Truth or Dare, by the way, was made for $3 million. Opening weekend made $17 million. That's it.
Surprised.
They're like, we're done, guys.
Surprised, I should say.
It's a terrible movie, but they make their money back.
There you go. Well, today we are doing our two-block episode to sort of take the place of our standard film review episode. This is where we talk about some television shows we've had a chance to watch, kind of catch up on some different shows. We're going to take a hop into a couple Netflix shows that I particularly have had a chance to kind of get into.
Yep.
Matt, you've dabbled.
I dabbled a little.
There. Yeah, but you'll throw in your perspectives and your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just to remind you, some ways to get connected to the podcast here. Go ahead, take that away, Matt, if you'd like to.
Totally, guys. You can get connected with us through our website, which is realreviewmedia.com. You can connect through all of our social media platforms through there as well, which is facebook.com/realreviewmedia. Same with Twitter, Instagram @realreviewmedia. All that fun stuff, as well as the youtube.com/therealreview.
Yeah.
Connect with us. Send us an email if there's some cool new shows. There's a ton of new shows happening all the time now. That's the thing with these these streaming platforms, is that there's just new shows coming out all the time now. So
absolutely,
tell us what your favorite ones are, and we'll try and see if we can't get around to checking those out to talk about them. And you can do that by emailing us at realreviewmedia@gmail.com.
Absolutely. We always want to encourage you to join us on this journey as we learn about new shows and films and television. Matt and I are both being educated and learning as we go.
Yes.
And enjoying this from our differing perspectives.
It is a journey.
It is a journey.
It's a good journey.
Yeah, so join along with us. Hop on board. Feel free to email us. Let us know what's going on. Get in contact. Get connected with the show. So with that, let's get into talking about some television shows. We're going to start with the one that you have not had a chance to see at all, right?
Yes, correct. But I want to. It's on my list.
Yes.
Yes.
It is a good one, kind of maybe. So we'll talk a bit about that.
Okay.
Lost in Space.
All right.
We're talking about here.
Danger, Will Robinson.
It's a Netflix original, which is obviously a spinoff of the television show from way back in like the 60s almost?
Something. Yeah.
Like way back when, not the 60s. I don't think, maybe the 70s. I should look that up.
We got to do research on this one.
But then also they had the Matthew Broderick, or not Matthew.
Matt LeBlanc.
Matt LeBlanc film.
That is the ultimate version of the show.
Absolutely. And I remember, this is the sad thing. I remember that being such like a summer Blockbuster type film. And that was back in the period where we would rent stuff from Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Blockbuster and like being so excited to rent that. And I watched it by myself. It was like I was home for the summer and I think my sister was working or something. And I was like sitting there watching it. And even as like a young person just starting like my passion for film and stuff, I remember being like, that wasn't very good.
Really?
Yeah. It was fun. It was like cheesy goodness. And if you were comfortable with just like being like, okay, a man gets eaten by spider creatures that grow out of his back, like then it's like.
I was big into Friends back in the day.
Okay.
And so I was like, hey, Joey from Friends is in this movie.
Right. And I was rooting for it for that reason, because that was Matt LeBlanc's big attempt to kind of make that jump.
Crossover. He's kind of an action hero.
Right.
Which I've never, ever seen from him. He's not just the doofus Joey.
No, because, back then, and probably most people that listen to our podcast know this, but back then it was very hard if you were a television actor to cross into film acting. They were like the two sides. Like, the film acting was like the classical, like, ooh, we are film actors. And television was like the lowbrow type stuff.
Yeah, but it's not the case anymore.
Right. And that film flopped so hard. So.
Yeah. I did buy the toy because there's a sweet scene where all the spiders are attacking.
Yeah.
And Matt LeBlanc takes out this like thing where he's got to assemble this gun, and then his mask falls down and he starts shooting all the spiders and stuff. And I was like, that was sweet. I bought that little toy gun. I probably had my parents buy it for me, but
it was a tie into Guardians of the Galaxy. Early stage Guardian.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, so This came out of nowhere for me, to be honest. I didn't realize they were going to be doing a new version of this, and I do like the concept of it. I mean, it's like a family show, but in space and with action. You know, the family gets sent out to kind of like, I think in the original it was to investigate the universe.
1965, by the way, is when it premiered.
Okay, yeah, so I was kind of right.
Yep.
So they go out to like investigate the universe, and then they get lost, and their ship has issues, and they can't get back home.
They go out to investigate space,
Yeah.
and then they get lost in space.
Which this one, they haven't really... I've only gotten 3 episodes in, but this one is more so about them going to, I think... what do you call it? When you're building up like a populous civilization on like another planet.
You're...
Like, because the Earth is falling apart, and so they're trying to like send humans to another galaxy or something to like start a new, Earth.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I can't think of the name for it, but I keep thinking terraforming, which I know
It's not
that's
terraforming.
No, because terraforming is when you change the planet.
Yep.
But whatever, whatever you call it. So,
Starting a new civilization.
yeah. So they go to the other planet, and then I think the thing that's kind of cool about this one that obviously wasn't present in the first one is that they're tying in some deeper elements with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was very much. I mean, it's the 1960s, so there's really not much drama complexity with the actual family
Okay.
they can get away with. They more have to keep it in, the conflict is all external.
Okay.
There's this alien thing, or there's this rock thing, or something that's going on they have to figure out. Whereas in this one, I think we've changed a lot as a society, so you can show that, there's a bad marriage relationship between the husband and wife, that the daughter doesn't get along well with the other daughter because of this issue. Whereas in, the 1960s, everybody's like, no, we want the happy family with everybody getting along well.
Yeah.
So that's added some depth to it, and I've liked that for the most part. That's kind of one of the positives. I'd say the acting is also really good. I really enjoy the different characters and kind of the different places. They don't feel like caricatures.
Okay, they actually feel like real people.
Yeah, they feel like real people, and
That's
they feel
cool.
like this is a realistic way that people would act under these types of circumstances. Like, they all have their own strengths and everything like that, but they kind of weave and bend and move into each other.
How's Will Robinson, kid actor?
He's not bad.
Okay.
He's actually, because that's one of the danger here. You got a lot of kid acting.
Danger Will Robinson.
Danger Will. I totally didn't mean that, but that's perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
You've got a lot of kid acting that's involved with this.
Okay.
There's, Will. There's also their daughter,
Penny?
Judy and Penny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Judy's new. She's kind of like, I think they added her, not to say like they wanted some additional like demographics involved, but they kind of seem to have, because they also changed Dr. Smith, which in the originals was both a guy. This one, Dr. Smith's a girl, but she's a really Parker Posey.
Okay. Yeah.
She plays a really good, like, so far, like Dr. Smith.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm fine with the casting, everything like that. I think the kids have all done a really good job so far with all
Nice.
the acting. The one thing that I haven't been super cool with, and it's still early, so I don't want to...
How many episodes are in the season as a total?
I believe 10.
10? Okay.
Yes. And so
That's
I
a
made
good
through
number.
3, and it's usually about the third is kind of when I can get a sense of kind of like where the show's going to be going.
Sure.
They've introduced all the characters, the main plot lines, and everything like that, and sure enough, I feel like I kind of like you have the main cast assembled at this point. Don West, Ignacio, I don't know what his role kind of is going to be in yet.
Okay.
He's still a little bit questionable to me. But I'm enjoying the overall progress of the story. It's interesting to kind of see these. Every episode kind of devolves into there's these 2 or 3 big critical issues that are kind of happening that inform their relationships and help them to work out relational aspects between their family, and it either grows it or subtracts from it, and they have to some creatures getting on board, or
Right.
the ice is about to collapse, and it so far has not felt manipulative or
Okay.
cheesy.
So the one thing with these TV series is typically each episode deals with its own conflicts, but at the same time, there's an overarching conflict that takes place usually over the course of the whole season.
Yeah.
Is that right now? Is that just basically for what you've experienced? Is it just basically them getting unlost in space?
Yeah, that's very much on the back burner
Okay.
right now with
I
the
gotcha.
first 3 episodes in. It does feel like that's there. Like their
Okay.
main overarching goal is going to be like getting unlost.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's very much felt like that's taken a back seat to the relationship drama as well as the external conflicts that are immediate.
Right,
Like
okay.
there's like immediate concerns that they have to like work out. And they've set up some interesting scenarios. Like in the first episode, one of the people gets kind of like, I'm not going to say like how, but they kind of get stuck somewhere.
Okay.
And it's really like
Okay.
that's one of my things that just like makes my skin crawl.
Okay.
And so like so that was pretty interesting. And again, it hasn't felt manipulative. It's felt kind of like, okay, that makes sense. It's definitely felt like, oh, well, that's kind of convenient. Like that worked out well for you, but it hasn't felt overly so at this point. I would say one of the more minor gripes, and this is kind of what I was pushing towards, was
minor gripes.
So Will's robot buddy.
Yeah.
And maybe they did this on purpose, but like, in the original, everybody kind of laughs at how silly it is now because it's like, danger, Will Robinson, danger, and his like arms are flailing and they're like rubber hoses.
Reminds
basically.
Me of Alpha 5.
Yeah, and it was kind of cheesy and it didn't age super well, but it's kind of a beloved thing, from our culture. And this more modern like robot buddy that he has is interesting, and you can tell that they're like trying to kind of. There's a person in a suit.
Okay.
And the suit looks pretty cool, I guess, but it just seems clunky.
Really?
And again, I don't know. Maybe they're like harkening back to the.
I think the original one was on treads.
Yeah, they just. I think they like pushed it around or something like that. I don't know, but like this one, it's what do you call it? It's 2-footed.
Okay.
It's 2-footed and it
bipedal.
Bipedal. It walks around. There you go. These words today, man.
Vocab.
We should do a vocab episode. But so yeah, it walks around and you can see. I mean, there's digital aspects to the costume specifically. Sure. It's like face, but there's parts of it that you can just kind of see it. It almost looks like it's like clobbering, like blum,
really?
blum, blum. And I'm just kind of like, okay, this looks a little Power Ranger-y.
Oh, really?
And you're like, go,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not the worst thing, but there's definitely a couple moments when I see that it kind of takes me out of the scenes.
Okay.
And I'm just like, okay, well, maybe they'll work on that for. Maybe the guy in the suit got better, or girl in the suit. I don't know. Maybe next season or something. I don't know. So, yeah. But that has been one minor gripe. It's just one thing that takes me out of the show. And then the other thing that's been a little bit of a minor gripe for me, and I think this is what's really kept it from kind of going to like an A ranking kind of show so far, is that everything happens like super like, it's just like jump. And I can't tell if they're like just trying to keep your attention, but there just isn't a lot of time for things to kind of breathe and stretch out. It's kind of like this happens and then this happens and then this happens, and it all kind of informs exactly where it needs to go.
Sure.
So it's very like plotted along purposely, and it's complex and enough, and there's good elements to it. It just feels a little bit like, okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Huh,
so it removes some of the suspense because you're kind of like, okay, well now something, you don't know what it is, but something's going to happen here. Or and nobody's going to die.
Yeah. So most shows that are getting released that are original content or reboots of some sort that are being released today on streaming services are usually for mature audiences. This is more family friendly.
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some action.
It's more PG-13 than R?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think there's been there's been no nudity, no sex, no cursing. Maybe a few like kind of blue words. I mean, people die.
Okay, so yeah, it's PG-13 then, probably.
Yeah, like it's a hard PG.
Yeah.
And like a soft PG-13.
It's a real hard PG.
If there's a ranking between a PG and a PG-13, Matt, that's where it would be.
PG plus.
Yeah. You can go so far with PG-13 these days. It's like,
PG-10.
You don't even know. It's like a lot of horror movies these days are released as PG-13s, so it's like...
Quiet Place. Go see it, Joel. You need to.
Oh, there you go. So I would say it's for a mature PG ranking.
Okay, I got you. Older children.
Yeah, as of yet.
Okay.
But it's worth checking out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm going to check it out. It's on the list. I'm going to do it.
I do think you need to give... the thing that I had a hard time with was the very first episode started... That's kind of the thing. I think that's really what I'm saying. The special effects are just meh. They're like
they're
okay.
Just like,
They're just decent, but they're not amazing.
Trailers look really cool.
Yeah, the very first episode started with like a really bland... Like, you're just like, really? That's how you're going to start this? That's it? And then it gets better. Like, there's a couple shots and things that were happening.
Maybe they ran out of money.
Well, maybe. I was like, that would have made a much more interesting intro.
Yeah.
To the whole series. It's literally just all them kind of just sitting around. That's how it starts. And you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Cool. So, check it out.
Cool. Yeah.
Check it out. And yes, for our listeners and watchers here, check it out as well. Let us know what your thoughts and perspectives are. Next, we're going to move into Altered Carbon.
Hey.
Yes, this is... I'm going to give a synopsis for this one because we don't have one that ties into it.
Yeah.
Although there was a book. This is based upon a book.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either until I started researching it.
Good to know.
Called Altered Carbon.
Okay.
And I think it's actually a series of books. I'm not positive about that, but it's about that character Takeshi, who's like the main character.
Yeah.
It's sort of a crime investigative type science fiction, mystery science fiction. And I think it travels with him over the course of the book series. I'm not positive about that, though. So
Okay.
Don't quote me yet. But synopsis for this one. Society has been transformed by new technology. Consciousness has been digested or digitized. Human bodies are interchangeable. Death is no longer permanent. Takeshi Kovacs is the lone surviving soldier in a group of elite interstellar soldiers who were defeated in an uprising against the New World Order. His mind was imprisoned on ice for centuries until Lawrence Bancroft, an impossibly wealthy, long-lived man. I love that, impossibly wealthy. Like, how could there be this much money?
Yeah.
Long-lived man offers Kovacs a chance to live again. In exchange, Kovacs has to solve a murder that of Bancroft himself.
Yeah.
Yes, so it stars Martha Higard as Kristen Ortega, Joel Kinnaman as Takeshi, James Purefoy as Lawrence Bancroft, Tamara Taylor as Umal Prescott. I'm trying to find his sister. Oh, his sister is Dichin Lachman as
Nailed it.
That's her name in real life, as Raylene Kawahara. So,
Okay.
pretty good amount. Oh, and Otto Esenhado, I should say, is Furman Elliott. There's a pretty good chunk of characters that are actually a part of this. And Chris Connor is Poe.
Okay, yeah.
Poe. Why don't you start
Let me start, because I'm not as far in this as you are.
Yeah.
I think this looks really good. If we're talking about, because I've seen the first episode, so as far as the way that it looks, I think it looks fantastic. It's got super Blade Runner vibes to it.
Absolutely.
And
I'm going to talk about that when
because I'm going to say, because a lot of it just kind of reminded me, I was like, this is very Blade Runner 2049 right now. And I was like, this is, okay. So it looks great though. Like they did a good job with the effects. So the Joel Kinnaman, I haven't seen other than Suicide Squad since The Killing. And he was my favorite part of that show. And he's, for what I've seen, he's great in this role. He's great. He's way more buff and ripped than he used to be.
He's insane. When he first pops up, you're like, dang, man, I've never seen that many muscles on that guy before. It was insane.
So he put some work into that. Yeah. But I think he's really, really good in this role. I like him. What do they call them? Sleeves? Yeah,
sleeves.
Okay. And then what's the name of the like elite soldiers that he's a part of again?
Envoys,
that's right. So it's really cool. I kind of like, I'm not far into it yet, but I like the mythology that they're building around these envoys and kind of where they came from. They had this really cool scene at the very beginning where you're kind of understanding how sleeves work, what happens with your mind, and how it's all that information is stored, all that stuff, and what happens, how you actually die, stuff like that. Yeah. And I think it's really cool. I want to learn more about that. And so in the first episode, they did a good job at kind of engaging my interest. I did like, there are some other like world mythology stuff that I don't fully understand, how like automated like businesses and how people stay away from them and stuff like that. And it was really interesting how, anyways.
Yeah, like the hotel.
Yeah. That whole scene, I was like, that is interesting how they're protecting their clients, kind of. Like, I think that's interesting. Yeah. But I did like that. And so I'd be curious to see, because you're much farther along than I am. I'd be curious to see if it maintains that at all.
Yeah, this was it definitely does. Okay. I think stylistically, I wanted to talk about that. It felt so Blade Runner-esque. Okay. And it was actually funny because I loved Roger Deakins' Blade Runner 2049 style and look and feel. He did an amazing job. He absolutely deserved to win an award for that. But it never, and there was a weird thing. I never really felt like it was Blade Runner. Like, it never felt like that world that was in the first one, like that over-congested craziness with, it just never really felt that much. It felt grand and big and beautiful.
You didn't spend a lot of time in the cities.
Right.
So that's probably why.
And it was almost like, I'm like they did it with this show. Like, this absolutely 100% feels like it takes place in the same world almost as the Blade Runner show.
Maybe it is.
No, I'm like, I wish they'd mixed in some of the visual style elements from this into almost Blade Runner 2049. That would have probably bumped it, because I didn't rank it super high. Like, it was an okay movie, but that would have alone probably ranked it higher for me. Because I really love the style elements. It really feels realistic as to what this kind of society would potentially move into being, and what our society even might become in the future.
It's kind of like an extreme example of The Cloud almost.
Yeah.
It reminds me of some Black Mirror stuff too a little bit.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things where it shows, because in this world, you're capable of pretty much transporting your sentience, your mind, your existence into whatever sleeve or body, which is
Right.
obviously very out there. But because of that, lines are totally blurred. And there's a lot of really awkward moments in the show, even where it's like there's a moment, I'm not going to say who or how or where, but like an old lady gets sleeved into like this biker dude. You know what I mean? Who's got like tats and like, like shaved head and like facial piercings.
Yeah.
And she's like a grandma. She's like, oh, I love you, children. But it's like an old man. And it's,
Same thing at the very beginning. There's this young, like 5-year-old that's
Yeah.
been uploaded into the sleeve of some like 60-year-old person.
Right,
And,
yeah.
and they're like, this is our daughter? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
it is crazy. And I think that's one of the things that I like about the show, in the sense it doesn't hold your hand and it kind of just throws you right into
Yeah.
it. And it's realistic about like, if this technology existed, how this would go down.
Right.
And I think that's what I was going to say. Like, it feels like the world in which these people exist, that congestion, that hodgepodge of different cultures
Yeah.
and all this random stuff would become more like that, because there would be very few dividing lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People would just try and appeal to everybody for everything with all this. Yeah. Anyway, so I like it for that. I love it for the complex nature of the story. They're obviously taking a lot of influence from the book, I would assume. And it feels like the kind of story that would have been written in a book, because there's just so much there. They don't hold your hand. They kind of just jump right into
They
things.
do a
And-
lot of implied stuff.
yeah, there's like 3 or 4 scenes where I kind of had to like pause and hop back and
Yeah.
just kind of go like, now, wait a minute. How did that influence or work with that? And I like that, but I would also say that there's times where it almost feels like they need to just like slow down a little bit. Like, just go, hey guys.
It's maybe a little less accessible to a general.
Yeah, and this is a hard R. Like, you're
Yeah.
talking about soft PG or
Yeah.
soft PG-13. This is a hard R.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
tons of violence, torture, nudity, all the, the F-bombs you could imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to watch this if you're like with, young audiences or anything like that. And
With my 4-year-old. Okay. no.
absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, they
Okay.
still have the blood splatter. I'm not
Daddy,
spoiling
what
this. This is
happened
something.
to his face?
Yeah, like the blood splatter of the guy getting shot and murdered, the
Oh my
beginning.
gosh, yeah.
And you see that, yeah, there's just so, I mean, it starts with like a naked woman falling in, well, I guess not naked, but like basically naked guy. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Very Matrix-esque.
Yeah, it did have a
Yeah.
little bit of that at the very beginning.
Yeah, so if you're into sci-fi and if you like Blade Runner and those kinds of movies and shows that are fall into that, Ghost in the Shell type existence stuff, I think this is up your alley. I think
Yeah.
this would be a show that you'd probably be interested in. Really good fight scenes at times. I think the complex nature of the characters has really what's kept me connected and interested. I'm interested to find out kind of like the mystery of who murdered Bancroft,
Yeah.
but I'm more of just like kind of wanting to see what's going to
That's
happen
the
with this
overall
envoy
arc,
Stark.
right?
And, yeah.
Yeah.
But
'Cause
that's
what
kinda-
they set up in the first episode.
That's
so.
the big, well, and it expands. It
Okay.
like blooms out into this much larger story,
Gotcha.
and that's what's really kept me engaged and interested, because you learn a little bit more about the sleeve that Takeshi's fallen into.
Yeah.
There's an episode which is entirely devoted to him becoming an envoy
Oh, okay.
and how that
That's cool.
progressed, and his relationship with his sister and his parentage. And there's just like, so there's a lot of elements there that are really like, oh, cool. And
Yeah.
I will say this, it almost felt like this show needed to, because it feels like they're probably trying to take this one book and boil it down into one season.
Sure.
And it felt like they either needed an elongated season.
Okay. There's 10 in this one?
I think there's 10 in this one
Okay.
too. Or maybe 12. I don't know. But like, it felt like they either needed a longer season or maybe tell this story over the course of 2 seasons or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's just a lot there.
Yeah.
And it's very heavy. And it's not the kind of show you can just like, I'm going to go home and watch Altered Carbon. You have to be
Right.
like, I am prepared to engage with this show right now.
Yeah.
But good fight scenes too. Really, for the most part, I felt like really good special effects.
Yeah, that's what I got too.
Yeah.
From, at least from the first go at it, I was like, "Wow, this looks crazy to me." you know?
Yeah, and some of the technology is really cool. I mean, like you're talking about the hotel. I thought that hotel thing was really cool. Seeing some
Yeah.
of the torture was actually really grotesque but interesting at the same time. And
I haven't made that far
yeah,
yet.
they talk about you'll get there.
Yeah, there's 10 episodes
Okay,
per
10.
season.
Yeah, so it really felt like maybe 12 or 13 episoder.
Okay,
But-
could have benefited from that extra one.
Yeah, but man, the budget for this, it's like they must have thrown a ton of money at this, because
Must have.
there's like they're constantly going to all these different locations, and there's tons of set dressing and then special effects and people. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just looking up too, because apparently it's done well for him. That it's renewed for a second season.
Okay, that makes sense. I think it's good enough. It's a worthy enough show to deserve a second season.
Okay, cool.
This was another one that kind of I feel like Netflix doesn't do a great enough job of like promoting their upcoming shows or something like that. A lot of shows on Netflix just like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Whoa, I didn't see that coming.
I feel that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me say this, dude. Did you watch season 1? This is totally unrelated. Did you watch the first season of Jessica Jones?
I got through the first 3 episodes, and I hate to say it, I got kind of bored. Sorry.
Yeah. So I watched the first season. I thought it was all right. I can't. I've tried getting through the second season. I made it to like the 6th episode, and that's like after trudging through. I'm having a hard time with it.
Yeah.
It's tough, man.
There was just nothing that really struck me as like, okay, this is a really cool story to like engage with. It's been that way with pretty much every one of their shows except for Punisher. That's the only one. And Daredevil. Daredevil actually was really cool too. But most of their other shows even like Iron Fist, I was like laboriously trying because that was one that we had actually had released while we were doing the podcast.
Iron Fist, I was watching with the hopes, come on, get better. Come on, get better.
Yeah.
Come on, get better. Stop whining so much, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted to finish it for the Defenders when that came out, but like I didn't even get through that.
I thought Defenders was all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah. But
Punisher, Daredevil, that's where they've been shining, I feel like.
It's their sweet spot at the moment. I mean, I was...
uber violent, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Luke Cage was... Again, there was just no conflict.
I thought Luke Cage was good for the first half-ish.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we're totally getting sidetracked here.
Sorry, we're talking about Netflix shows, how stuff shows up,
Well, and listen in, we're going to be doing as well our coming soon episode where we're going to be talking about some Marvel properties that are
a little movie coming out soon.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead, we'll wrap things up then, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about. No? Okay. Cool. Well, we will wrap things up. Just again, some reminders here at the end, some ways to get connected, realreviewmedia.com. We also have our Facebook, which is facebook.com/realreviewmedia. Instagram, Twitter, which are both at Real Review Media. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, perspectives, maybe part of your journey that you're going on with media and learning about all the different things that are coming out. Send us an email. Shoot us a line. realreviewmedia@gmail.com. Love to get connected.
Do it.
There it is. Well, Matt, anything else?
No, that's it.
No, you said no. Okay, well, it's been real.
It's been real.